Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Agents of MACE. Today we're talking Echo, episode 3, and boy, oh boy, if you thought episode 1 and 2 were crazy, episode 3 really dives more into both Maya and Kingpin's relationship and Maya and her ancestral abilities, which we're still kind of like learning what they are and what she can do with them. So I've been trying my best to like read up, right? I read a couple Echo comics. I read a couple Kingpin comics, just trying to see like where do things cross over? What does her ancestral ability do actually? And so far, the show has taken it in what seems to be like a different direction.
More
In
of
the
an original
comics,
direction.
yeah, in the comics, it seems a lot more like she has the ability to like draw on some of the abilities of her past selves
Mm.
or her ancestors, I guess. But that's kind of it, other than the fact that she can like pick up things really quickly by like watching,
Hmm.
sort of like a less intense taskmaster.
Yeah.
But in the series, it seems like she's almost like speaking with them. They're
Mm.
like warning her about things. They're reaching out, and it's an interesting way to view it. And then not only that, but like we as the viewers are watching their stories, sort of like bits and pieces of them. Um, I think it's cool. I think it's interesting. I think that they're playing it up to a point where I feel like it's leading somewhere.
Hmm.
Um, but obviously we're not there yet. We're only 3 episodes in. So I don't know. I think it's cool. I'm enjoying that aspect of the story, I think. But
Yeah, for sure.
I would
Yeah.
say, before we dive too far into that, what are our first thoughts? I got sidetracked because I was excited to talk about that. But yeah, first thoughts for this episode.
Yeah, you kind of hit on it. Like you get more of that element in this one. But like as we're talking about it, see now I wish like with the action moment that we get in this episode and kind of what happens that's connecting these things. I really wish the Daredevil fight would have been at the end
Mm-hmm.
because it could have changed the whole thing about that. And then even like why didn't we see now? I don't think we like really got any of this side of Echo and like Hawkeye at all, which wasn't even in Hawkeye that much. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's interesting how that plays out. But short episode. I think this is maybe one of the shortest ones. It's kind of like pretty much all in one location. But it's kind of cool. It shows more of like Echo and what she's capable of with picking up how to piece together gadgets and use that to her advantage and
Mm-hmm.
um even like the little like it's almost like super spy stuff, right? Like the things that she can do with her shoe and
Mm-hmm.
uh some other things. And then there's some things that happen near the end of this episode I do put question marks on because I feel like it wasn't really, I don't know, it just seems like it wasn't explained perfectly or like it just kind of, I don't know, it just specifically that has to do with like something that was created for her leg. I felt like there could have been a little bit more there. Which felt was underutilized in a bit. But again, short action packed episode. Pretty fun watch.
Yeah. How about you, Lisa?
Um, I thought this one was good. It was a fun one to watch, but I will never be able to think of skating rinks in the same way again, which is kind of a negative. It was like it really like it had all of these really like intense visuals that I kind of was not expecting. But yeah, this was a good one. It had a very different, I felt like a different tone than the first two, but it also feels like maybe this is the one that's really pushing us towards the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
in some ways, it kind of felt like the most important episode that we've had so far. So let's get into it.
Yeah. Yeah, the I guess like the bulk of this episode takes place with Maya being captured, along with her cousin. I don't know why, but I'm always like, yeah, they're sisters, and they're like, no, that's right, they're not. They're just
They're
cousins,
not sisters.
but
Yeah. Yeah. It's like,
yeah, basically, yeah.
you say it that way, it'd be okay. They grew up. They're so close together. Like they probably just act more like sisters than cousins.
Right. Essentially, Maya was like tricked and captured by these three people that work at this roller rink, who have called maybe Kingpin, maybe somebody in his organization, but basically they called and said like, hey, we got Maya, come get her. So they're just kind of like waiting for them to show up to take Maya away. Maya's cousin shows up to kind of like investigate where Maya may have gone, also gets captured. I'm still confused why they capture them and then they put them in a room. And granted, yeah, they tie them up with, tape or whatever, but they put them in a room full of things. Tools,
stuff
like,
to use.
Yeah, exactly. And then close the door and no one's in there with them. And I was like, wow, I mean, you're really trusting that two pieces of tape you put on her are going to hold her down.
Yeah. Somebody who almost took down Kingpin single-handedly, and they're like, she'll be fine.
Yeah.
What's she gonna do?
It's like they use. Well, I can't remember if they use tape. I know at one point they kind of do that again with zip ties. But they even have like a little banter. Like, who's gonna watch them? Are you too scared? And then it's like all you got to do is like stand outside the door. But then again, it's like, why are you standing outside the door?
Right.
Like, what is that accomplishing?
If anyone was in there and had seen her pop, so at one point she pops like a little knife out of the tip of her prosthetic shoe. Anyone in there would have seen that and been like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, no, you can't do that. But instead, no one was in there. So she just escapes. And then to that point, when she popped that out, I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Where has that been this entire time? Like, presumably, she didn't just get that. She's had that. So my wife and I just actually finished rewatching Hawkeye. And my first thought was when she's on the roof fight with Kate and Clint and Yelena, why didn't she pop this knife out of her shoe? Like, she had it. She had to have had it. Yeah. So it did seem like they were like, how can we get her out of this situation? I know she's got a hidden knife in her boot. And it's like, well, I mean, cool idea, but it doesn't make sense that she never used it before now. I had a question about her ability to take all of these pieces of skates and make a gun that shoots bolts or ball bearings or something.
Couldn't tell what it was. I thought it was like the little like staple, like like when you had like the whole like strip of like staples and you could like break them in. Like I thought that's what it was
maybe. Yeah,
I don't know.
She literally just like picks up a bunch of stuff and then all of a sudden has a gun. And I was like,
with a laser.
How did she do that? Like what did she watch that she pulled that from? Like all of her ancestors. So far, we haven't met one of her ancestors that was like a tech inventor or something. So like it was like, this is really cool that she can do this, but again, what and why now?
I mean, we did see her grandpa is apparently good at mechanical stuff because he like made her the new leg and made it like all souped up and things. So maybe it's just like, well, no, she got those abilities from her grandpa. It runs in her family. But I was kind of like, did she seriously just MacGyver?
Yeah.
A whole weapon out of like skate stuff? Who can do that? I also don't think that laser pointer would have been accurate. I can't imagine that being a good targeting system.
It immediately made me think like, it's really funny because thinking about this episode and also thinking about Hawkeye now that I've rewatched it, I had the exact same thought when Kazi is like gonna snipe at the party in the last episode and he
Mhm.
turns on the laser pointer. And my first thought was, well, now anyone in that party can see that laser. Like, what a
Mm-hmm.
dumb idea. And sure enough, it does. Like, Clint's able to see it and they get everyone out. And so when she turns on the laser, my first thought was, well, now anyone can see where you are because you got a little light on the front of your skate
Yeah.
gun.
Yes. I use
Granted,
a
it
laser
was
pointer to play with my dogs, and they are not smart. Anybody can see that and be like, "Oh, look at that."
Yeah. And
but
if you
all that was
took
there was like the one lady who wasn't even facing the door, sitting at a table facing the complete opposite direction. The, these
yeah,
criminals were not the brightest.
no,
Not top tier
at
criminals.
all.
No. And then to kind of circle back, like I thought the intro to this was pretty fun because we get this, silent film approach. So it really ties into the character of Echo we have. And then now we have one of her ancestors. And I like the meaning behind it all and the setup of what they were doing and how they're approaching things. And it shows more to like the character of Echo. But it's like the whole like takeaway from that. It's like with this ancestor, they're kind of like the sharpshooter, right?
Mhm.
It's just like that's their thing. So I kind of feel like it's like instantly once she puts together this little makeshift gun, the first shot misses. I'm just like it's like weird. You would think like it would just like we don't really see these moments until we get like a little bit further in, like in the next 10, 15 minutes. It's like all of a sudden it's like that ability kicks in and she's
Right.
unstoppable.
And it,
But
it
I
does
just
that ability is so confusing because
yeah,
all we see with this ancestor is that she has a rifle.
right,
So that
Mhm.
makes
right.
her the like sharpshooter. But then
Yeah.
the entire fight, Maya is just throwing things
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
they're
it's
like
just
hitting every shot. And it's like,
yeah.
well, but her ancestor, we haven't seen her throw anything. We
Yeah.
just know that she can shoot well. That doesn't
I
equate to being able to throw things well.
yeah.
But I mean, it's cool and I get
Yeah.
it.
And
But
so to the thing that you mentioned earlier, what you read, I feel like we kind of got that maybe near the beginning of like, the ancestors kind of reach out to warn about things, and that's kind of like what led to her getting captured. It's like she's
mhm,
walking around and then has these, flashback moments, which maybe
mhm,
they were warnings, like don't really know. It's never really fully. I wish they would go more into that right now.
mhm.
Because she never seems to question it or ask about it either.
Yeah. Yeah, she just like lets it happen. And it's
Yeah.
like, whatever, this is fine. Yeah, I'm definitely, hopeful that that gets more screen time and maybe more attention as the series wraps up, where
Hmm.
they can explain it a little bit more, give us a little more insight into how it works. I feel like the like story that we get with her learning about her abilities
Hmm.
seems sort of rushed. Like
Hmm.
it seems like there's so much more they could have done to explain her understanding of it and using it, but then instead they're just kind of like, well, everyone just wants to see Vincent D'Onofrio again, so
Yeah.
That's all we're
let's
here
focus
for.
on that. Yeah.
Right. Now, the initial man or person on the phone, it's like basically a whole set of Kingpin's goons that show
Hmm.
up. I do like the actor that was kind of leading them though. I can't remember his name, but I just remember him from Limitless,
Oh yeah.
and I like him as an actor. Like he plays that role very, very well, and he just kind of has that vibe to him.
Right. Yeah, and they weren't playing around. Uh
No,
they
they
show
weren't
up
even
to
like
get
care. They
her.
could care less about talking about money because
Yeah.
the initial three criminals like kidnappers, all they wanted was money, and that's all they would talk about. And you
Hmm.
basically know right away like they're not getting a cent.
No. And
They
not
probably
only did
weren't.
they not
Yeah,
get a cent, but then they argue about not getting a cent and then they all die.
yeah.
And it's like, oh wow, okay, they weren't playing around. Uh, but yeah, then that leads us to the big skate rink fight scene, which was a lot of fun. there were a lot of like little nods, mostly to Echo.
Mhm.
Um, like I think when she like smashes somebody against because we see the like sharpshooter thing. She's like throwing pool balls and stuff. And then
Mhm.
she smashes somebody into a pinball machine, and it's like an old west sharpshooter pinball machine. Um, it was really funny. I had this moment where in movies where they go into laser tag arenas, I always feel like that's not what they look like. Like I was a laser tag connoisseur when I was younger. That's not what laser tag arenas look like. In this, when they go into like the bowling alley laser tag room, I was like, they did it. That's
Mhm.
exactly what it looks like in laser tag. Everything is dark, and then they just border everything with like neon lights. And
What
so
are the
that
odds that
was,
they just used a laser tag place? Like a family entertainment center that has your skating rink, your laser tag,
Mhm.
your arcade. And they're just like, oh, we can jazz this up a little, but it's fine.
yeah. Do you mind if we break half the things in here?
Go for it.
There's a lot more showcasing like the little town that they're in near
Mhm,
this, like on the motorcycle. Like you get a lot of those shots
mhm.
around the little Oklahoma town that they're in, which I think was fun. It kind of, I'm curious, like how many people are going there now after the show.
Oh yeah.
Check it out.
I'm sure
Did they
they're
film this in Oklahoma or did they film it in Georgia? The little Georgia
Oh,
thing comes up at the end.
that's true. That's a great question. I thought they filmed this in Oklahoma, but maybe they didn't.
I thought whenever I was watching it, I thought it looked like Oklahoma. But
it's possible that they filmed like the establishing shots somewhere in Oklahoma, and then the rest is
Oh,
probably
yeah, they're
Georgia.
saying it was filmed primarily in Georgia. That, I mean, that's a bummer. I feel like we need Donovan. Like,
you know what I mean?
yeah, like, yeah.
I I do wish in the fight scene that Maya had come out on roller skates. I just feel like it would have leaned in a little more to the roller rink thing. Um,
Then it would have been delightful.
yeah, I'm just picturing like a fun,
Uh,
wacky fight on rollerblades.
I feel like that's like if the Disney team stuck with normally what they're doing, they totally would have done that. But they're trying to go for this more mature, grittier
Mhm.
approach.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean it was fun. It was intense. I feel like Maya, we're getting Echo now.
Hmm.
Like I feel like the first two episodes we're getting Maya, but now we're getting like, oh, she's like coming into her own as this like superhero essentially. Like she takes on what there's like 12 of them or 13 of them,
More
and
than what you see,
she's
yeah. Because when they all walk
yeah,
in, it seemed like there was like 5 or 6 of them.
right.
There's
But
definitely a
then
lot more.
more and more keep popping up,
Yeah,
and she's able to take them all out
yeah.
like relatively unharmed.
Hmm.
Um, so it's cool to see her kind of coming into her own. Um, I do want to know, like, what do we think? It's like she's building a team almost. Um, I don't, I don't know that I like understand that part of the story. Like, I feel like Echo is kind of her own, it's like a lone wolf kind of
Yeah.
character. I don't see her on like a team with a bunch of people. Um, so it's weird that she's like sort of building up this team with her cousin and the guy that owns the roller
Hmm.
rink and her grandfather and the guy that what was his name? The guy that she meets like right when she gets to town.
Her other
Yeah.
cousin, Biscuits.
Yeah, biscuits. There
Yeah.
you go. It's like she's building this like little team, but I feel like, but why? Like you don't need this team.
I mean, it's her family. She just wants a support system. She's been estranged for a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah.
But also with her cousin Bonnie, I can't remember if we have mentioned or discussed or realized this before, but the actress who plays Bonnie is the same actress who voiced Kahori in What If? DeBerry
Oh,
Jacobs. Yeah.
okay. That's cool.
I didn't know
So she's
that.
kind of had like a back-to-back Marvel thing going on. And I
Nice.
think I think that if I'm remembering correctly, she also was on the TV show Reservation Dogs, which I've only seen a couple episodes of.
I do recall seeing that. That's been on the watch list. I need to go
Mhm.
check that out. Yeah.
Taka just
It's
has too
pretty
many
good.
shows right now.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so real quick before we kind of move into kind of like the last few bits of this episode, the primary goon, I can't remember his name. There he basically gets a phone call, which more than likely was from Kingpin. It
Mhm.
does show a phone number and lets that phone number sit on screen for a while. Did either of you call it or do anything?
No.
I did not. I thought about it, but I was like, I may just go back, like, and or I haven't even looked up to see if that number does anything. But they let that number just sit there, and it wasn't like a 555, traditional like movie fake phone number. This looked
Mhm.
like could be a potentially legit phone number, or maybe it's a code to something. Like maybe the numbers could mean something. I don't know.
That would be cool. That would be really cool.
Or
Someone
we've been,
check.
yeah,
I was
I
just gonna
mean,
say, someone check the Reddit. I'm sure somebody did it.
right.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to look up. Like, isn't
We've
your
been so
mom this
used to like
phone?
QR codes, right? Like generally there's like a QR code that will lead to like a comic, but it's like maybe this number means, and numbers usually relate to like someone like maybe a birthday or a year or something with someone that's worked on the project or the comics, but this just seemed a little different.
It's Vincent
Hmm.
D'Onofrio's personal phone number.
It's the
I
direct phone
miss
number
the
to Kevin.
yeah. I do really miss
The QR codes.
the QR codes. Like I don't know why
Yeah.
we stopped doing that.
I don't know.
So
Surely they were
hopefully,
tracking that to see like how it's actually leading to more.
yeah.
I I bet they had to
Yeah.
been tracking it.
Um, we did get like a couple, talking about the phone number. I haven't seen anything. Been trying to see if I can find anything. Um, we have gotten a couple references to like Marvel things in this episode, which was also kind of nice. There's like a Roxxon, uh,
Hmm.
the like gas station that she
The gas
rolls by and
station.
stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and that's like a big criminal empire. And in the
Yeah.
comics, Kingpin's hammer, we see that in this episode, the
Hmm.
like ball pin hammer. And then also referencing uh Daredevil, like the original series Daredevil. We kind of see a little bit more of that with the like scene where Kingpin and Maya, when Maya's like young,
Hmm.
when she's trying to get the ice cream or whatever, and he like goes over. Um, it helps us understand how long Kingpin has been
Hmm.
Kingpin. Um, and I'm hopeful that when the new Daredevil series comes out, they will continue to expand on how that series is related to the MCU.
Hmm.
Because I know we kind of talked about like, what are people saying? What do we think? But like hopefully they're trying to like slowly combine the two into one
Yeah.
universe. Um, or at least
Right.
some sort of like spin-off of that universe. But let's talk about Kingpin. We didn't really know. Did he make it? Did he not make it? Surprise, he made it. Um, he shows up with his eye patch on, and It's this episode that he takes it off, right?
No,
Oh, that's next
no,
episode.
this is
All right.
when they just kind of. So I guess we'll just kind of circle back. No, yeah, this is more. She's kind of taken off, gets to a location, and he's just there.
Mhm.
Right.
He's just
Yeah.
he's just there in the kind of the shadow, steps out like he's been waiting for her.
Just with
Yeah.
some like tape eye patch, not a
Yeah.
foil
Yeah.
one yet.
Yeah. It's not a
Yeah.
real eye patch.
Well, which
Just
I liked it.
disappointing.
I was expecting, yeah, because that's why when I saw that, I was like, I feel like we've seen like a live action version of Kingpin that had an eye patch. And I thought it was the Daredevil movie, but maybe it wasn't. But this does kind of go more towards the comic, which in the comic he has both of his eyes kind of have this
Mhm.
like white tape patch taped over him.
Mhm.
But this time it's just the one eye, which is still cool. But like, yeah, it's fun to see leaning into
Yeah.
the comics.
Yeah. And I, who knows? Maybe at the end of this, she shoots him in the other eye, and then he's got two eye patches. But it was. I'm enjoying it more and more every time he's on screen because it's
Mhm.
like he is really doubled down on this like Kingpin character being like both intimidating and terrifying, and also a little bit more like the first time we see Thanos, right? Like
Right.
he's doing what he's doing for a reason, not just it's not like the Joker, right? The Joker's the bad guy because he wants just like chaos.
Mhm.
So it's like harder to look at that and be like, oh yeah, like that's a good villain. It's just like, well, yeah, of course he's a villain. He's just crazy. Whereas this is like, here we have this guy that just wants power, but also understands you can't just take it from everybody because then you get in trouble. So he's like super smart and clever and also terrifying and good at like manipulating people into doing what he wants, which is like
Yeah.
what got Maya into this whole mess. So every time he's on screen and it's just like the tension is so high, and like what's he gonna do? Is he gonna go crazy? Because now we've seen it. We've seen his like anger temper tantrum side where he's just huge and really strong. And so if he lashes out and hits you, like you could die. So and he taught that to Maya. That's that whole scene. We see him like beat up that ice cream guy, and then when he's like saying sorry to Maya for her having to see it, she goes over and kicks the ice cream guy as like a little girl. And it's like, oh no, you're just passing that on. So I'm excited that he survived. Not because, yay, the bad guy's alive, but because more Kingpin as a bad guy. He's a really good villain.
Oh, yeah.
I am a little bummed that, we're almost to the end. We still haven't seen anybody else. We got that one little Daredevil blip at the beginning, and I kind of thought maybe that would mean that he would show up a couple times, but
I mean, there's still 2 more episodes.
it's true. There's time.
Mm-hmm.
All in all, fun episode. I enjoyed it. I think that it, in the best way possible, it seems like nothing happened, but also they continued the story. Like the whole episode was like a fight in a roller rink, her being captured in a roller rink, but they were still able to like tie in all of these other things that expand the story and are just knowledge of these characters, like the backstory of these characters.
Yeah. It's more connection with her family too, right? It's like after the whole roller rink, it's just like she's in this state of like, I got to get out of here. Like, because you kind of, the audience, we have a sense, we know like what she's wanting to do, like her goals, which are not honestly the best goals, but like her family doesn't know, right? Like Bonnie doesn't know. And Bonnie's like, I got to call the cops. And she's like, no, you can't call the cops. I just can't be around, law enforcement. Like, you either got to let me go or just don't do it, period. And then the other guy, is it her uncle or is it another cousin? I can't remember.
I think he's Uncle Henry.
Uncle Henry. Like there's a little short conversation between him and one of the goons that kind of leads like, okay, is he working for Kingpin too? It seemed like they made it seem like he's maybe a part of that association, like he's doing stuff behind the scenes that maybe the roller rink is kind of like part of like a money laundering thing or something. So like it draws question there. And then before even seeing Kingpin, we see Maya goes back and meets with another family member where we're building that relationship there. That's where she gets like her new leg piece essentially. And this is where I'm like, I was hoping there could be more on like getting, especially going into like this whole like gadgety side of things of Maya, like, oh, that's really cool. Like she's getting a new leg. Does it do like this? Like, is it going to be utilized as like a tool or something? And I understand like it's built around like more of her ancestry, but I was like hoping he'd be like, also it does this like really cool thing that we'll see you maybe used later on, but we don't really know. It's just, um, you know, she's rebuilding like part of like her brand. It's kind of going into more of her potential outfit. Maybe I don't know.
Which
But
is
I was hoping
also
there'd be
like
more
a
there.
cool. It's a cool thing, you know. I think we talked about this last week. That like Echo
Mm-hmm.
canonically in the comics is not an amputee,
Right.
but because the actress was, they like worked it into the story and they did it in
Mm-hmm.
such like a flawless way that
Yeah.
if you didn't know and you watched Hawkeye and you watched this and then you went and read Echo, you would be like, oh, well, like when does she lose her leg?
Mm.
Because like it's like ingrained into my brain since I watched this before reading any Echo stuff. But it's like,
Yeah.
she's so much cooler now, like
Yeah.
in the show. So yeah, I mean, I hope she gets more gadgets. Becomes like some cool.
Right.
She's just got like weapons that pop out of
Well,
it,
I
or
mean,
like
you think about
jump
like
really
fighting with
far.
Daredevil, right? Like Daredevil, he's so much martial art focused, but he's got little gadgets that he uses. He's got
Exactly.
his like batons that turn into like this somewhat of a whip or like cable
Hmm.
thing, and I'm seeing like Echo and Daredevil almost kind of mirror one another in ways in terms of like their
Hmm.
fighting techniques and just their style of things. But yeah, like now I'm like, well, I'm a gadget geek too, so like I want more of that stuff. Maybe we'll get
Yeah.
it.
Double O Echo.
Right.
Um, hey, yeah,
Oh
I'm
man,
definitely,
she needs to be in a Bond movie.
she'd be really cool.
That would be dope.
Yeah. Especially because like I still can't get the image of those sword legs from the
Oh,
first
from King, yeah, the King,
from
yeah,
King's. Yeah. I
Kingsman,
was like,
right?
that would be
Oh
such a
man,
cool thing if like that's a
like if they
gadget she got.
and if Disney really wanted to take this on more of that, you know, which we're now steering off. I mean, we've covered the episode. But I saw someone was like they were kind of referencing back to Echo and just the maturity level. But then they brought up the one fight scene in Punisher where he like smashes the face in the glass and just drags it all the way down. Like that, like nothing's
Yeah.
got near that. That was rough.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
The Punisher
That
show
whole
had to.
that whole fight scene, that was that
I think when they made that show, they were like, they're gonna cut us loose. Like we're not gonna be able to keep making these. So like let's just do it. Let's
I feel
make
like
like
they're
a
like
crazy Punisher movie.
they had it in like, what's our budget again? All right, let's make sure we're using like every cent in every way we can because
Yeah.
we're not getting
Yeah.
renewed.
So we'll see. I mean, I feel like every day I'm seeing something new about like Punisher's gonna come back
Yeah.
as part of the Daredevil series, but also he's getting his own series, but
More,
also
yeah, like, and then you know, the whole Foggy was Karen, right? Foggy and Karen.
Hmm.
You know, I think that their whole like situation's up in question of like, are they coming into this new show? The note that you made earlier, are they going to put this as a way of merging the two? And it's like, are these characters that maybe get killed off by Kingpin, like at the beginning?
Hmm.
Like, could that happen? Um, which explains like why they're not being, you know, recast or anything.
Right.
There's more Iron Fist news that's been circulating. Like everyone's like now, like, where's Jessica Jones? Like, let's if we're
Right.
gonna do all this, like, let's renew Jessica Jones, bring that back.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's like so much they could do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see what they do
Right.
actually like move forward with, especially with
Yeah.
like how many rumors have been circulating and that the strikes pushed everything back. So some things may have gotten canceled or may have gotten
Mm-hmm.
changed or, merged into other projects. So we'll see. But for this episode, was there anything else you guys had for this one? Okay.
Nope. Nope.
All in all, good watch, good solid halfway through episode. Um, I'm excited for more. I'm still kind of bummed that it's a short season, but
Yeah.
got to do what you got to do. So hopefully we'll get Echo season 2, or I guess that will just be Daredevil season 1. I don't know.
We don't know yet.
Yeah.
I mean, we've
So
pretty much got to wrap this up. We got 2 more episodes to talk about, and then we'll have Madam Web, and
Yay.
then it's gonna be question mark. Like, we'll
yeah,
see.
until the only other one I can think of off the top of my head is we'll get
Deadpool.
Daredevil, yeah, Deadpool
Should
and
get Craven later this year.
Craven. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all in all, for movies, at least this year, I'm only looking forward to one. I watched the other ones, but
Yeah.
I think Deadpool, I'm excited for. Madam Web, ah, I don't know. I still can't really figure out like what they're trying to do. And
Well,
then,
and did you see the news that they announced
mm,
last week? So, which this was, I can't remember if this was our question to answer from last week, which was the Spider-Man appearance.
mm.
Is that
Um, last week our question was, give me a
we are
minute.
researching real quick, listeners?
Yeah. Oh, dang it. Whenever I shrink pages, stuff disappears. Gotta prove I'm not a robot.
Yeah. Well, while we're verifying, I think this is the big question on everyone's mind is like, okay, we're getting this, uh, this new movie that is connected to Spider-Man in some way. Will we potentially get a Spider-Man appearance? And while that hasn't really been confirmed, they basically came out and said that this is going to be a standalone story set in 2003. That's kind of tied, like not part of any of the existing um, Spider-Man trilogies or movies that we've gotten. So now it's like, okay, where's this gonna go then? Like what are they gonna do if this is kind of not really tied in with any of the existing Spider-Man that we know? Like, will Spider-Man even be a part of this at all?
And why is it set in 2003 if it's not
And
specifically connected to anything?
yeah, don't
They
know.
want the fun outfits because guess what? They weren't fun. They were terrible outfits.
Yeah,
Ugh.
I just I don't know. The more that I see the trailer for it, the more I'm like, this just seems like
I've seen
you.
it so many times now. I'm just kind of, I don't know. I'm just ready to.
Yeah. It,
It's just one like I'm just ready to watch it.
why
I don't
watching
know.
that it makes me feel like they were like, we want to introduce these characters, but we don't want to give them all their own show or movie. So instead, we're
Yeah.
just gonna like crush them all into one story that loosely ties them all together and
Hmm.
also introduces them all in one universe together. And it was like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
What? Our question
Uh,
last week. was about what do we think is the origin of Maya's abilities?
Oh, yeah. If it was more the
Like,
celestial,
yeah, like cosmic, or is it
cosmic, yeah,
tied to the stones?
right.
Some sort of mutant ability, maybe. Um, I think that I'm leaning towards cosmic. It just has
Mm,
that, like, this doesn't seem like a super ability. It doesn't seem like any sort of mutation that would give you this ability.
mm-hmm,
I feel like they dropped the Infinity Stones altogether,
mm-hmm.
which is weird, right? Like, we know that they're still out there. Um, but yeah, this just has some sort of cosmic air for me, at least.
Hmm. Yeah, it's hard to think of the stone like because it feels like with Loki, they just kind of debunked the whole Infinity Stones. It was just like, yeah,
Yeah.
they're not really that important. It's like they're everywhere. They're in every universe. Is what it like they just made it seem like no big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be cosmic. I think I kind of lean more towards potentially a celestial approach. I wouldn't say mutant, but I wonder if this is more of like I don't know, just alien, unknown. I
Yeah.
guess that would fall in celestial approach. That's kind of what I lean towards.
How about you, Elisa?
At least to me at this point, it seems like it's probably almost like a spiritual thing. I could see it being
Yeah.
cosmic because we saw in the first episode that the first Choctaws weren't like humans. There were other beings who came to Earth. So it could be something like that, like almost for that other like type of being, that other species, like biological. But the way it's
Mhm.
presented is it feels like a very like connecting with ancestors on a like spiritual kind of level thing. So
Mhm.
that's the way I've interpreted it. I'm probably wrong because they're probably going to retcon it and make it something like, oh, she was a mutant, but but that's just the
Yeah.
way that it is in my head right now, 3 episodes in.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
definitely could.
I could, yeah,
As
because I'm thinking about like Kunlun and Tao Lo. Those are both
mhm.
sort of like spiritual based
Yeah.
realms, not necessarily tied to anything else. So I can see that.
Well, there's like a specific I can't remember the character. I have the visual in my mind. This is from like Mortal Kombat, that whole, story, like, IP. But I'm pretty sure there was like a character that like kind of drew from like spiritual ancestors for their power,
Hmm.
kind of like that approach. So like it could, I don't know.
That's pretty solid. Yeah. Well, I think for next week, we'll just go easy. Like, let us know. It's not related to Echo, but let us know what Marvel thing you're excited for this year. It could be a series, it could be a movie. Those are limited. It could be a comic. Maybe you're really into the comics and you've got a comic coming out that you're really excited about. So let us know, and we'll let you all know next week what we are looking forward to. Um, but for this week, I think that does it. So thank you all for listening. Join us next week for episode 5. 4?
Or
4. Just kidding.
four,
Episode
four.
4 of Echo, where we will hopefully learn a little bit more as we inch ever closer to what's the finale going to be. You know, are we leading to something? I don't know. We'll find out in 2 episodes. So see you guys next time.
Bye.